Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Monday, June 16th. We're already, look at us. Look at us moving halfway through June already. What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hopefully, everybody is ready to go for this week. Excited to do the show today. I feel like sometimes you kind of searching around what are some of the topics going to be. What are things that we can get in? Yeah, I don't have an issue with that in today's show. There's a lot of stuff to hit on. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. I appreciate you guys making your morning, adding me to the mix here and having Hoops Talk, having the Sleeper Show a part of everything. So I appreciate you guys doing that. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. Takes just a couple seconds to do so. Trying to close in on 32,000 subscribers, so I greatly appreciate that. I do have a quote for everybody, and then we got a number of different topics that we're going to get into as well, and we'll do that as we go here. Okay. First thing here, let me just kind of get one of the quotes up here for everybody, and then we could take it from there. And I got to update one thing here, which I'm going to do in 2 seconds. Of course, I started the show already messing up that portion of it. Quote for today. Here's what I got. Quote, don't change to please people. If they can't accept you for who you are, you don't need them in your life. Don't change to please people. If they can't accept you for who you are, you don't need them in your life. Okay. I got a ton of things. I had my rundown from Friday on the show, but we're updated now. We're updated. I got a ton of things that I want to get into, so I'm just going to give everyone a quick breakdown here of the show. If you're here hanging out, awesome. If you're throwing comments on there, great as well. If you can keep the comments a little bit more towards where the show is going, I'd appreciate that. I can use those comments as the show goes on, so that's always helpful. Here's what we got going on for the show. Today's a busy day. Are you ready for NBA trades? Because whether you're ready or not, they've already started. They started yesterday. What that Desmond Bane trade means, and really it's just more kind of the opening door for NBA trades to start. And we've been listening to a lot of people over the last, let's call it 30 days or so, saying, yeah, there's going to be a lot of movement this summer. And what that means for teams in the Eastern Conference, how aggressive are they going to be because of how much weaker the East is? What do West teams do? Do West teams decide, you know what, let's make this a seller's market because there's so many teams that want to be active? What it means for the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll get into all that. But the trades have started, and they started yesterday. And, obviously what happens moving forward from here is going to be very exciting to see. So I'll break down not necessarily every portion of the Desmond Bane trade, which I do think is interesting, more just the concept of trades beginning and starting and kind of the ripple effect from all of that. What does it mean for the Los Angeles Lakers? What does it mean for some of the different players that they have? What's the cost that comes with making a trade? Desmond Bane got the Memphis Grizzlies 4 first-rounders. Now, a lot of people got different opinions on the first-rounders. We'll get into that as well. NBA Finals. Game 5 tonight. The Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. Awesome. Badass. Can't wait. Looking forward to it. It's been a really, really good series so far. I think the only thing that you can ask for is, can you be 2-2 through 4 games? They are. So I think that part is a good thing. The only thing I don't like is there's just too much time in between these games. How did you not have a game yesterday? Would yesterday not have been a perfect game for the NBA? I'll talk a little bit about the NBA Finals. Steven Adams off the board. So if there were any fans out there, I did a couple videos on Steven Adams. I wasn't crazy about Steven Adams. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but there's a player that's obviously has been associated with the Lakers. He's off the board. Talk a little bit about that. Durant down to 3 teams. There's also reports out there that the Phoenix Suns are saying, we don't care where he wants to go. We're gonna ship him to wherever it makes the most sense for us. Obviously, talking about his team. So something to keep in mind there. And then I got a couple other things we'll get into. Padres and the Dodgers will start a 4-game set. Of course, the big news in regards to that is Shohei Ohtani back on the mound. So Shohei Ohtani, who hasn't pitched in, I want to say 21 months or so, kind of adds, I think there's already anytime that you're playing in the division, those games are always going to be more interesting. But Shohei back on the mound adds just kind of another level of interest in probably anybody. You don't even have to be a baseball fan to be interested in what that performance is going to look like. I got the weekend recap. I got a couple other smaller things on the Lakers, and then we'll call it a day. So hopefully everybody's enjoying their Monday. Let me do this here real quick. Let me kind of look at a few of these comments to get things started, and then once I do that, then we could actually get the show started. Okay, let's see what we got here for some people. Let's see. The intellect. I love the show. Thank you very much, my brother. It will only get better. I could promise you that. And what I mean by that is a lot of stuff in the background will only get better, and we'll make that happen as we go. Let's go. Slee needed this motivation and distraction today. I got you, Tony P. Trade Reaves for 3 first-round picks. Here's the problem. I'm gonna star this one. I'm gonna come back to it because I think a lot of people are thinking that, hey, if that's what you're getting for Desmond Bane, why don't the Lakers do something similar to that? The Lakers are in a much different position than the Memphis Grizzlies, so we'll come back to that because I do want to talk about that, but I don't want to talk about that just yet. All right, let's see what else. Let me get a couple more in here. Who's the best center for the Lakers realistically? Nick, I'll come back to that as well. Here's one on Desmond Bane. The Desmond Bane trade seems like it was a bit of an overpay for Orlando. Okay, that'll be a good conversation to have as we get started, and we'll go from there. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and let's get the show started. Okay, so first things first, and I do wanted to start the show with this because I think there is I think there's something to be said. When are these trades going to start happening? When's it going to happen? You know, all we've been hearing about, I've heard Rob Pelinka saying in the exit meeting, like, hey, this summer, it's going to be a lot going on. The NBA is going to be very active. By the way, some of that has to do with the fact that there really aren't too many NBA free agents. There aren't too many teams that got a lot of cap space. Really, no teams that have cap space. I think other than Brooklyn. Brooklyn's got the cap space, and I don't think anybody's dying to go over there. You had Shams Charania saying that before the draft, things are going to start going down. You had Brian Windhorst saying. So I think a lot of people keep saying that, and the draft, by the way, coming up a week from Wednesday, maybe a week from Thursday. I can't remember off the top of my head here. But it's coming up in the next week and a half. So you got a lot of people saying that trades are going to start. All right, question's going to be, what's the first domino that falls? Here's what I love about what happened yesterday. So yesterday, for those who don't know, but I'm pretty sure if you're hanging out on this channel, there's probably a good chance you're a big NBA fan. The Grizzlies traded Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic. By the way, ESPN put a blockbuster deal. I always, what's the definition of a blockbuster deal? If Desmond Bane is a blockbuster deal that includes Caldwell Pope and Cole Anthony, then what happens when Luka gets traded? Like, can we save some of these dramatic words for when it's actually a blockbuster deal? Anyways, that happened yesterday morning. So Sunday morning, you know, you're following whoever it is. Maybe you're following Shams, maybe you're following wherever you got your notification from. You're like, damn, okay. So it has begun. It has started. I'll get into the trade in just a second. But what I find most interesting is here we are. We're 2 weeks away from NBA free agency starting. Right around 2 weeks away from NBA free agency starting. We're about a week and a half away from the NBA draft starting. We're still in the NBA finals. And there's a, decently sized trade that just went down in the NBA. And I think this is what most people get really, really excited about the NBA. I guarantee you right now, there's probably more interest on who's going to get traded next. Where's KD going to land? Will Giannis go anywhere? Will he stay? I think there's probably more interest in that than there is in the NBA finals. And I'm somebody that loves the NBA finals, and I love this matchup, and I think it's been a fun chess match, but I'm just kind of speaking for what it feels like the public wants or what the public doesn't want. So with that all being said, everything started yesterday. Now let's kind of talk about the exact trade, because I think the trade has some significance, and I'll tie this back to the Lakers. If I told you right now, give me how many teams are competing for the NBA playoffs next year, one of those teams would be the Memphis Grizzlies. And whether you have high hopes on the Grizzlies or you don't. I think a lot of people are obviously down on Ja Morant, and they're down on whether the Memphis Grizzlies can really make noise. But nonetheless, Memphis is in that category of a team that's going to make the playoffs. Desmond Bane's kind of a big piece for them of what they've been able to accomplish. I think they got, I want to say 3 years in a row, their first round exit. So it's not like the Memphis Grizzlies have been making it to the Western Conference Finals or knocking on the door. They ship out Desmond Bane, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, and 4 unprotected first-round picks go back to 1 pick swap as well, go back to the Memphis Grizzlies. So I was reading a lot of stuff on this yesterday, and I'm like, all right, I wonder what people think. I think, listen, if you're the Orlando Magic, I'm not going to spend too much time on the details of this deal, but if you're the Orlando Magic, I think there's a little bit of view of like, hey, this is how we're going to get a player that we feel like, I guess they're one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the NBA. Desmond Bane is clearly a three-point shooter. We'll add a toughness to their team. We'll add kind of a more of a veteran to their team, somebody with more experience. You got to take chances like this. If you're Memphis, honestly, I don't hate the deal. I don't hate the deal at all because you are getting some first-round picks. You're getting some good players back in KCP. I think Cole Anthony will have, somewhat of a impact for their team. But these are more role players, and you get these, these first-round picks that are coming back. It kind of makes it interesting, if you ask me. But I get it why Orlando's doing it. I think the thing that's most interesting to me is you got teams. Keep an eye out what Orlando does. Keep an eye out what Detroit does. Keep an eye out what the Toronto Raptors do. The only reason why I say that is because we're spending so much attention focused on the Western Conference, and we're spending so much attention focused on how many 12, 13, how many different players are going to be out there, or I'm sorry, 12, 13 teams that are going to be competing in the Western Conference. If you're the Orlando Magic and if you're the Eastern Conference, is this not an opportunity to strike? I think that's the main thing that stuck out to me yesterday. The main thing that stuck out to me yesterday is, can you take away some talent from the Western Conference, and can you try to balance some of that talent to go east? Because I know if you're a Laker fan and you're sitting back and you're saying to yourself, what are the Lakers going to do this summer? As much as it is about what the Lakers are going to do, there's got to be a little bit of piece of a lot of Laker fans out there that are also saying to themselves, can we just have a little bit of the competition in the Western Conference, just take a little knockdown? Can we just have a little bit of the competition in the West? Can we have some of that balance over to the East? Orlando did something that I think was smart, and I think you'll probably see more teams in the Eastern Conference do. The East is open. The East is open. If you thought the Boston Celtics were going to dominate for 3 to 4 years, that ain't happening. If you thought, they have dominated. They've been really, really good. But next year and potentially for the next couple of years, I don't know what's going to happen to the Boston Celtics. Are you sold that the Indiana Pacers are going to be on, the best team in the East next year? Are you sold that it's going to be the Knicks? My point is that maybe, just maybe, there's going to be some Western Conference teams out there that say, all right, here we are trying to compete in the West, and there's 10 solid teams in the Western Conference. Is this our time to sell? Is this our time to stop fooling ourselves and say to ourselves that maybe this is an opportunity to go make a deal with somebody and kind of start the rebuilding process because we ain't coming out of the West? And I think that's part of what Memphis said yesterday, even though I think Memphis also did it because they got some young pieces that they feel like, they can work with. Jaren Jackson Jr., I think they're trying to sign to an extension. There was rumors out there they are not trading Ja Morant. I'll read you exactly what it says. It says, more star trades are not expected. Sources told ESPN the Grizzlies are not looking to deal either of their 2 remaining franchise cornerstones. The team has spent the past several months clearing salary cap space to complete a renegotiation and extension of Jackson's contract this offseason. Obviously talking about Jaren Jackson Jr. They don't want him to hit free agency in 2024 or 2026. I will tell you this. Damn, if there's a player that would be basically a perfect fit for the Lakers, how good would Jaren Jackson Jr. be? Anyways, it doesn't matter. It ain't happening. They're going to sign him for X amount of dollars, and they're going to do everything they can to bring him back. So my initial thoughts on the trade yesterday, I thought Orlando got better. Orlando's trying to be competitive in an Eastern Conference that has some windows and has some opportunities. Will that force other Eastern Conference teams to say, you know what, screw it. Let's go make a trade for Kevin Durant, or screw it. Let's go make a trade for this player because the East is wide open. And listen, the Memphis Grizzlies can still very well be a playoff team next year, but there is a little bit of a, hey, they're at least retooling. They did fire their coach, Taylor Jenkins, with whatever it was. I don't know how many games there were in the regular season, how many games were left, but it shows a little bit of something. So that's part of the takeaway that I take away from yesterday's trade is it has begun. The NBA trades have begun. And we could very well be sitting here today, tomorrow, Wednesday. Doesn't matter the day. I could be sitting here and be like, damn, there's another trade I wasn't expecting. I didn't hear Desmond Bane's name once in any trade conversation. And maybe it was happening and I'm just not, following the Memphis Grizzlies. But I do think that was interesting that it went down, that it was a West team trading one of their, key players, and he's going over to the Eastern Conference. Okay. Let me take a look at some of the comments here as we continue to roll here. Let's see what people got here. A lot of AR chatter. That was one other thing. That was one thing is a lot of people were trying to tie in the AR piece to Desmond Bane. By the way, there's some similarities there, right? Third best player on a team. What can you get for him? Is there some redundancy of having Ja Morant and Desmond Bane? I'm just using it as an example. Is there a redundancy of having Austin Reaves and Luka Doncic? So I know there's some tie-ins there. So I'm going to read some of these off here in just a second. Let me read a couple of these. Grizzly fizzled out. Ja's leadership injuries. CF failed them. Probably time for a rebuild. I don't think you're wrong there. By the way, I also think Ja Morant, if he does end up playing anywhere other than the Memphis Grizzlies, and it does sound like it wouldn't kill him if he had a little bit of got a chance to go somewhere else. Some of these guys just got to be at the right spot. They just have to be they have to be with the right franchise and organization. And I don't know how much Memphis and Ja Morant have helped each other. It's a blockbuster because it positions Orlando to be a top 3-4 team in the East. I don't know. I remember watching a Lakers Magic game early in the season, and Orlando looked unbelievable. If you guys remember, it was Franz Wagner that hit that three. That was last season, right? I think that was last year. I don't know. All the years are just mixing into me now. Here's another one. I can't stand Bane. Well, you're only going to have to see him twice a year now. Let's see what we got. Another one here. Morning sleep. I don't think Lakers are going to trade anybody. They're going to offer players contracts, and that can't happen until July. Well, they got expiring contracts, and if an expiring contract is going to go down, that's how they're going to make their trades. So we'll see how much that means. Understand they were trying to get out of KCP's contract as well. Desmond was a lottery pick. Let's see what else we got here. See if I can just read a few of these here as we keep it going, and then I'll hit on some of these Austin Reaves. People are trying to kind of tie up the Austin Reaves into the mix here. All right, let me read a couple of these here. We got Astrohead, who, by the way, has been a member here, MVP member now for 4 months. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much for doing, though. AR's price tag skyrocketed. I think a lot of people looked at that trade that went down, and I was reading something this morning about, hey, just because the Orlando Magic they traded 4 first-rounders, well, what does that mean now for Kevin Durant if he gets traded? Are they going to get 8 first-round? And I understand the math there, and I understand how people are trying to make that tie. But from everything I was reading there is no, connection here, which I don't completely agree with. If a trade just went down, you are looking at if a house down the street just sold for X amount of dollars, you can't, be a realtor and be like, well, we're not paying attention to that house. No, you are. That's how business works. Business works based on what, the market value is. So I think, okay, yeah, you're probably not going to get this crazy haul, which the Phoenix Suns want back. But I don't know if it's apples to apples. I do know that Desmond Bane is signed long-term, so Orlando's going to have him for years to come. Bane is noticeably better than Reaves. Slight difference in play and style and team usage. Bane really increased his usage with Ja out so many games. A lot of this also has to do, guys, with fit. A lot of this also has to do with how is your roster constructed? What's the style of play that you play? Who are you playing with? It's funny. And let me read a couple of these on AR, and then I gotta chat you on Austin Reaves. AR is a free agent next summer. He can walk on his new team. His value is lower than it should be until he is in a long-term contract. There's some truth to that. You're right. There's some truth to that. Now he can also get traded somewhere and then negotiate a long-term deal with that team. That can happen, or at least have some type of an agreement with them that, hey, I want to be here long-term. He could do that through his agent. Here's my question. I'm going to ask everybody here real quick because I see Reaves' name come up a lot. I'm trying to figure out one thing more than anything else. Bane is way better in the playoffs than Reaves. He shows up. It's not even the fact that he's better than Reaves. It's expiring contract. You don't get much for that. It's interesting how many people in this chat right now, and I guess this shouldn't be too much of a shock, how much everybody is immediately tying Desmond Bane and tying, obviously, Austin Reaves to it as well. And maybe what I'm talking about is how much people are how do I put this? Maybe not crazy about Austin Reaves in the future with the Lakers. That's one of the things that I think I take most from some of my shows I'm doing right now. I think there's a lot of Laker fans right now that's like, gotta get rid of him, gotta trade. No, you can't have him here. He's playing in the backcourt with Luka. You obviously don't want him to walk for nothing. I'll throw this out there to everybody. What do you guys think is more likely? Is it more likely that Austin Reaves, that by the time October 1st comes around and Lakers do training camp, is a Los Angeles Laker or he's not? I think most people would agree that Reaves is going to be a Laker. I think most people that are sitting back right now would agree that the Lakers are probably not trading Austin Reaves in the offseason. Okay, if they're not trading Austin Reaves in the offseason, now the question becomes, will they trade Austin Reaves by the time you get to the NBA trade deadline? All right, unless things are really, really not working out well between him and Luka and the Lakers and their position. And by the way, with how good the Western Conference is and how many holes the Lakers roster has, that could very likely happen. What could very likely happen is you could be sitting by the trade deadline and saying, this isn't going as planned. We got to trade some of our assets to go try to, save the rest of this season. And then there's the other scenario is that you get to next summer and you just pay Austin Reaves because you cannot let him walk away, and then take your chances with Austin Reaves as a Laker for at least the next couple of years. In my opinion, I kind of think that's probably most likely to happen. I think most likely scenario, Austin Reaves gets traded now this summer, probably not very likely. Gets traded by the trade deadline. All right, there's a lot that's going to have to happen in order for that to there's a lot that's going to have to happen in regards to things aren't going right for the Lakers, or maybe they just don't think that Austin Reaves wants to re-sign with the Lakers, or maybe they don't want to pay market value, or whatever the case is. There's a lot that's going to happen. I think when the dust settles, he's probably going to be a Laker for the next couple of years. That's what I think. And, whether that changes or not, we'll see. Of course, if there's an offer that comes in of some real deal talent, then I think they'll trade Austin Reaves, but I think it's going to take something like that in order to happen. Okay, so I just wanted to address that because there are a lot of people that are on this chat that it's kind of funny. For a player to have played as well as Austin Reaves and to kind of come out of nowhere and to be overplaying what his contract is, damn, there's a lot of people that don't want to see Austin Reaves on this team. Now it could be as simple as this. Maybe they just don't want to see Austin Reaves on this team because they just don't like the fit with Luka. And that, to be honest with you, I don't have an argument against. That's the one piece of Austin Reaves I can't really argue against. There might be people that actually like Austin Reaves or think he's a decent player, or people that just don't like him and didn't like his last playoff performance, like, get him the hell out of here. I mean, hell, we did that against D'Angelo Russell. But I think probably the underlying foundation of why I feel like there's so much noise about Laker fans saying you got to move Austin Reaves, I think the underlying foundation of that argument has to be you can't win with him and Luka in the backcourt. That's the only thing that I could think of because he's outplayed his contract. He's been a phenomenal player for the Lakers. He's came up through the system. He's kind of done everything you're asking for. And the only thing that I think that I could really see and make an argument for is the point that I just made about it's the backcourt with Luka. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think Austin Reaves should come off the bench. I think Austin Reaves should play starter minutes, but just don't start the game with Luka. But I don't know how much the Lakers are actually going to do that. All right, let's take a look at a couple of the comments here. Did not think Desmond Bane was going to be a full conversation about Austin Reaves. Slee, come on, man. He plays no defense. He provides the same as Luka and LeBron. We have bigger needs, and he's only chip that we have. That, by the way, listen, that's not a bad argument. That's a good argument. That's a very fair argument that's difficult to counter. I would just say this. I'm not trading Austin Reaves to get a second string type of center. I think he holds more value than that, and I'd rather just hold on to him then. Because if you go out and if you trade Austin Reaves and you just got a center that's filling in the void, but is not the center that you envision for the next 3, 4, 5 years, all right, well, there goes a phenomenal asset just so you could be what in the Western Conference? No, thank you. I'd rather hold on to my asset. All right, let's get a couple more here. Here's a wonderful story, but it's not a championship story. Okay. By the way, listen, if your point is to trade him, make your argument on here. By the way, I don't think there's a lot of people that are making bad arguments. I'm just not trading him for a Nick Claxton or a Jared Allen or something. I don't think that's a wise trade. And if they're able to get a player of better value, cool. And it fills a need that the Lakers have, then cool. Then I would make that trade. I just don't know if that's going to present itself to the Lakers. I have no problem with Austin. If they don't see Austin as fit with Luka or don't see him as Luka number 2, then trade him. It feels like, and I will tell you this, it feels like from a franchise perspective that Austin Reaves is not somebody that, I mean, look, you could always play poker and teams could always say, we're not trading Anthony Davis. And the next thing you know, AD's gone. We're building around AD and then AD's gone. So I think that's obviously something to keep in mind. All right, let me look at a couple more of these comments here. In 2.4 seconds. But that's not going to happen. So somebody's asking here, Victor is asking, would you trade Austin Reaves for Jaren Jackson Jr.? Of course I would. 100% I would. Jaren Jackson Jr. would be the ultimate fit or one of the best fits that you could think of on this team. Jaren Jackson Jr. isn't going anywhere. So that to me is more of the point. He's just not going anywhere. So I don't think that's obviously happening. Part of the reason why I think Desmond Bane just got traded is because of that exact same reason. They want Jaren Jackson Jr. and they want Jaren Jackson Jr. for the future. So that has a lot to do with it as well. Certainly has a lot to do with it from that perspective, and certainly has a lot to do with it that what kind of talent are you getting if you get for Austin Reaves? Listen, it's a fun conversation. We're going to have it all summer until we know what happens with Austin Reaves. I don't like the fit with Luka, but I also am not trading away Austin Reaves for something that I don't feel like is that makes all the sense in the world. Okay, I want to give a quick shout out here as we get ready to continue to change topics. There's a number of things that we got to get into today, so I'm going to be able to do that in just a second. Quick shout out to our partner. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. If you are looking for an injury attorney, I hope you're never looking for an injury attorney, but things happen in life, some type of serious situation. I've kind of mentioned this before, and we have talked about it. Wrongful death case. Maybe something happens on the road. Maybe you're just in a predicament or a situation. You're like, I have no idea what to do, which is completely fair. If you're looking for an injury attorney, I highly, highly, highly recommend, if you support the channel and you trust me that I will not steer you in the wrong direction, I highly recommend you go to the website that we created, this URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you've been in a serious injury or wrongful death case, Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, they can help you. At least just go to that website and get a free consultation. Have a conversation with them to see. I know there's a lot of injury attorneys in the state of California, certainly in Southern California. You can help anybody in the state of California. So if you're listening, but you're not specifically in SoCal, he still may be able to help you. It's probably a daunting, intimidating process, but I could tell you somebody that I've known for 5 years that used to advertise with me when I was at 710 ESPN. Now he's here with me on YouTube. I know he'll be able to help. wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Okay, let's go back to some of the comments here as everybody is, I'm sure, got an opinion on all this, on all this stuff. Okay, let me see what we got here. Let me see what we have here. Okay, HH, number one, thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much. I appreciate you always supporting the channel, so thank you very much for doing so. Even here as we sit in the off season, HH coming in through with the super. So thank you, HH. Thank you very much. Trevor Lane, DCRU. Trevor Lane doesn't understand that Austin Reaves is a regular season player. He's not a postseason player. Well, I don't think that's a Trevor Lane thing. I think there's a lot of people that watched Austin Reaves in the postseason and were not crazy about it. I know that he was dealing with some type of an injury. At least that was what was reported when the season ended. He didn't have a good postseason. You know, I don't have much of an argument for that one. I think he's a lot better of a player than how he performed in the postseason. But let me tell you who else didn't have a good postseason. JJ Redick was awful in the postseason. There were no role players that were, or probably didn't even get the opportunity to show that they are good postseason players. I don't care if Austin Reaves balled out. They still weren't going to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves because they didn't have size, they didn't have rebounding, and they got outcoached. So, DCRUU, thank you for the super. I appreciate it. But I think this has less to do with one person's opinion or this or any of that stuff. If Austin Reaves had a good postseason, do you think the Lakers would be in the NBA Finals? They wouldn't. That team had way too many holes, and clearly for the Lakers, there was just no way of, obviously addressing it. Slee, with all due respect, can you answer my post? I got you, brother. Thank you for the supers, brother. Thank you very much. I appreciate you throwing the supers. And HH, thank you very much as well. Okay, I want to keep things moving here because I'm going to tie some stuff back to the Lakers here, and we'll continue to go. You guys saw this, and I've done some videos on it, and I've mentioned it before. Steven Adams. This was my opinion on Steven Adams before what happened over the weekend went down. My opinion on Steven Adams is, I don't think that's going to be the answer. The type of big that the Lakers need, I don't think Steven Adams is going to. Steven Adams gave you maybe 15 to 20 minutes, really, really nice defensive force, a big body down low. But I think if you sign Steven Adams, you're solving 50% of your big needs. And, certainly to fill out a 48-minute roster, I don't think it was going to be Steven Adams. But this is what did go down over the weekend. I think it was over the weekend now. Shams put out there, Houston Rockets center Steven Adams has agreed to a 3-year, $39 million contract extension to stay with the franchise, sources tell ESPN, after playing a key rotation and leadership role in the Rockets' playoff run. The new deal keeps a top center at a free agency. By the way, and this is no disrespect to Steven Adams. I'm really, really not trying to disrespect him here, but this just tells you who's available. Because if we're using the new deal keeps a top center at a free agency, if we're calling Steven Adams a top center in the NBA, I think that just speaks more to what the market is right now in the NBA as far as centers go. I like Steven Adams. I think he's a nice player. I think he can have a lot of impact. I think Steven Adams makes a whole lot of sense for the Houston Rockets. And I think if you found a way to get, by the way, good for Steven Adams getting 3 years, $39 million. He's not getting 13 a year with the Lakers. nor do they have the ability of doing so, at least, just signing him outright in free agency, unless they got wildly creative or they were able to do some type of a sign and trade or whatever the case is. But the Rockets get their big. They keep Steven Adams. And frankly, I slept last night. I didn't lose any sleep over Steven Adams staying with the Rockets. I just didn't. I think there are other play. If you sign Steven Adams, then I hope you also got Clint Capella. Or if you traded for, I'm just using as an example here. If you traded for a Nick Claxton, well, I still hope you can get Clint Capella on the 5.7. My point is that I'm trying to make is I don't think Steven Adams, if you got him, you're saying, oh, we're good to go. The Lakers have no more worries anymore from a center position. I will say this from the center spot. I do think the blueprint and the philosophy that Rob Pelinka had in the summer in regards to getting, at the trade deadline, in regards to getting Mark Williams, I do think that's the blueprint that I'm hoping for. I'm going to read something off to everybody. And again, Dave McMenamin was just on with us, what was he, a week and a half ago, whatever it was. Dave McMenamin was on a radio, I think an ESPN affiliate. And I'm going to read what he said here. And he's talking about a center. There's certain types of centers that I think perfectly fit the Lakers and I think are, kind of built to be on this Lakers team for 3-4 years. Frankly, I think what Pelinka was trying to do at the trade deadline, that to me, in a perfect world, is the blueprint of what he tries to do this summer. He went out and tried to trade for Mark Williams. He gave up a first rounder. He gave up Dalton Connect, but he got this 23, 24-year-old that is a good rim protector, that can roll to the rim, that can be a menace as far as rebounding goes and lob threat and everything else, is at an age where you're like, yeah, that's a phenomenal age, 23, 24 years old, 25-year-olds, fine, whatever the case is. You guys know that window. But that concept of a trade, I thought, was exactly what I'm hoping for. Pelinka gets another opportunity to do again. Dave McMenamin was on this on an ESPN affiliate station, and it's talking about Walker Kessler. I don't think the Lakers are getting Walker Kessler. Jovan was talking about this last week when he was on the show, that the Lakers just don't have enough to go get Walker Kessler. But let me read exactly the quote that he said, and this will tie back to, okay, Steven Adams is gone. They were not going to sign him for 3 years, $39 million. I do think he's a perfect fit for the Houston Rockets and what they need, and he would have been half of what the Lakers need from a center perspective. Here's what McMenamin said about Walker Kessler. The only thing on that front is that Walker Kessler remains a name the Lakers are intrigued by. Whether that will lead to any sort of deal, obviously last year the asking price was too steep. Obviously the Lakers ended up pivoting those assets. They were considering moving to the Jazz to get Kessler in order to go make the Luka trade happen. That came off the table after the Luka trade. If they do revisit it, that remains a player that the Lakers could fit the void that they have at center. I'm not reporting anything moving towards a deal or picking up steam or anything like that, but Kessler remains on the Lakers' radar. I mean, honestly, I think what Dave is saying there is, of course, they'd love to have Walker Kessler. Of course they would. He's a fit from many different perspectives. Of course, they'd love to have Jaren Jackson Jr. Of course, they would love to have, I don't know, you guys name off whatever centers you think would be perfect for the Lakers. Maybe Jaren Jackson, it's different because of where his contract is, and Walker Kessler because of his age and how much he's making. Of course, they'd love to have players like this. So he can use they're intrigued by this player, that player. The question is going to come down to, can Pelinka put together a deal that accommodates exactly what another team needs in order to get the center that he feels like can be on this Lakers team for multiple years? And it's not just a center with, like I said, Steven Adams was going to fill about 50% of the void at center. Can they find a center that fills 80% of the void? And then you could use, some of those other players some of those other bigs out there to kind of handle everything else. All right, let me take a look at some of the comments here as we keep the show rolling. Steven Adams off the books, so you guys obviously know that how that all went down, and then we can go from there. I will just say this as well in regards to the Reaves piece. The other thing that I will say is I think there's a lot, some of the noise that's out there in regards to Austin Reaves. It's really, really difficult to know what this team has until they fill out the entire damn roster. Because you know who else? I mean, think about Luka's backcourts in the past as well. Luka was with Jalen Brunson. It's not like that backcourt is known as being, the greatest defensive backcourt you can ever think of. Luka was with Kyrie Irving. It's not like that was the perfect, ideal defensive backcourt that's out there. The question for the Lakers, and the question, as we keep bringing up Austin Reaves, is going to be, how'd you fill up the rest of the roster? Guys, yes, Austin Reaves and Luka are going to get exposed. They're also going to get a lot more exposed when you don't have a big. When you got Jaden McDaniels, who's got quotes after the first game like, I think I'm the biggest player on the floor here. That's what the Lakers were obviously dealing with. So I think something to also keep in mind is you might not like that backcourt of Austin Reaves and Luka Doncic. That's fine. I don't blame you. I do think that, winning an NBA championship with those two guys, your backcourt, everything else got to be perfect. But in the Lakers case, you got to just have some kind of size, and they had no size at all. All right, let's take a look here at some of the comments. Man, a lot of people just not a fan. Not a fan of Austin Reaves. Let's see here. Behind the scenes while listening to this, how Reaves is pumping the iron. Jaden McDaniels got 30 by attacking Austin. He's the main problem why Lakers is losing. Did Jaden manage to score against? Okay, can I play out one scenario? By the way, I don't even have that much of a defense towards Austin Reaves because if you found a piece that made sense, then that's it. You shop him and we're done. The conversation's over. But here's the funny thing with this. Again, I go back to it. You guys are just looking at Austin Reaves, and what you're not looking at is who's behind Austin Reaves. What size do you have there that can help Austin Reaves and Luka? And obviously the Lakers don't have that. Okay, let's keep things moving here. I don't want to spend all day here just why am I fighting for Austin Reaves? What the hell happened here? I didn't wake up this morning and say, Al, you got to go out there and fight like hell for Austin Reaves. What am I fighting for? Making it sound like this is my first cousin. Now, let me get a sip of my coffee here. Reaves and Rui got to go. Okay, let's keep things moving here. So we hit on a couple of things here. I haven't even got to the NBA Finals yet, but I'm not going to do it yet. I'm going to keep kind of rolling with what I have here just because we're kind of staying on the free agency stuff and trades and all that stuff. I'm going to just stay with that for now. That seems to be the topic of interest right now. Okay, let me also point out one other thing here from the NBA. You know what is going to be how do I put this? You know what I'd like to see just end? I feel like I've been hearing about Kevin Durant getting traded. Well, I have been hearing about Kevin Durant being traded since February. Probably since before February. Probably since after the calendar year where it was, hey, are the Phoenix Suns going to keep the three? Are they going to start rebuilding this, that? KD is still on the Phoenix Suns. There is no question of Kevin Durant if he's going to leave. It's just when. Kevin Durant's leaving the Phoenix Suns. I think everybody obviously understands that. There was a report over the weekend. Durant prefers to land with Heat, Spurs, or Rockets. If you're a Laker fan, it's very, very, very clear where you want Kevin Durant to go. By the way, some other teams that were sleepers, blah, blah, blah. Clippers, supposedly a sleeper. The Toronto Raptors, supposedly a sleeper. Here's where you want Kevin Durant to go. It's very, very simple where you want him to go. You want him to go to Miami or you want him to go to Toronto. You just want him out of the West. That's it. So if you're a Laker fan, there are a couple ways that you can get better over the summer. One way is by actually improving your roster and finding trades that make sense and acquiring, however they work in free agency. The other way you can get a little bit better in the Western Conference is some of these players leave or other teams in the West are like, all right, we're not competing for a championship. Let's just start being sellers. So there's a couple ways of doing it. If Kevin Durant lands on the Houston Rockets, I'm sorry. You guys explain to me how the Lakers are beating the Houston Rockets in a 7-game set. The Rockets have, and I'm not even talking about Kevin Durant specifically. KD is very talented. Nobody's taking that away. But frankly, I think for KD, that guy's got to be in a situation where there's structure, there's a head coach that knows what he's doing, there's a front office that is building the right team around each other. Houston's done kind of everything you need to do early on. Now, how many assets will they give up to go get a guy like Kevin Durant? I have no idea. But if Kevin Durant ended up on the Houston Rockets, does that not seem like the missing piece for the Rockets to make a real run in the Western Conference? And does that also not seem like a piece that all of a sudden Laker fans and Warrior fans and other teams in the West are like, Jesus Lord, another freaking headache? You do not want Kevin Durant going to the Houston Rockets. The Spurs thing, if I got to be honest with you, I don't really know what the rush is from the San Antonio Spurs. I'd be a little surprised. I think if they're the team that ends up giving up a lot for Kevin Durant, I think they're building for the future. Wemby is obviously young enough. Now, I know why they would do it, but if KD went to the Spurs, I'd be more concerned with KD going to the Houston Rockets than I am KD going to the Spurs. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like the Rockets are built right now to contend potentially for an NBA championship. And they've already built that structure, and they got a coach that's ready to go. They have a really, really good defensive team that's missing this. They need a scorer. And KD in a system like that, KD is like, yeah, that's what I do for a living. When I wake up in the morning, I get buckets. That's what I do. And age-wise, kind of trying to compete right now, I feel like San Antonio, they don't have to have KD to still be relevant and still to kind of, to slowly try to build wherever they're trying to build. If he ends up with the Clippers, okay, I guess could be a headache as well. I don't know what they'd be giving up for him. Ty Lue is obviously a really good coach, but to me, I don't want him in Houston. I don't want him in the Western Conference, and we'll see what eventually happens. So hopefully Miami, Toronto, some of these other teams put together a good enough package so that he doesn't go there. I also feel like I said, it has been I feel like we've been talking about Kevin Durant being traded for about 6 months because we've been talking about Kevin Durant being traded for about 6 months. There was the Steinline put something out on the KD stuff, and then I'll look at a couple of your comments here. The one thing that I read this weekend about the Kevin Durant stuff, which I liked it from the Phoenix Suns, the Suns are basically saying, I guess there's in total 6 to 8 teams interested in KD. The Suns are basically saying, yeah, we don't care if Kevin Durant doesn't want to get traded to Minnesota. If Minnesota puts the best package together, he's going to Minnesota. We don't care if he doesn't want to get traded to Toronto or if he doesn't want to get traded. It doesn't matter. You name the team, because there are some teams that could potentially trade for Kevin Durant. It's a 1-year rental. That's it. I mean, that it could literally be just that. They can get him for a 1-year rental, and then that could be, obviously a wrap. The Phoenix Suns are saying, we don't really care where Kevin Durant wants to go. We're going to trade him to wherever we should go. And frankly, I don't blame the Phoenix Suns. Don't owe Kevin Durant anything. He's getting paid over $50 million a year. It's not like they won an NBA championship in Phoenix. It's been a disaster since he got there. And I'm not even blaming it all on KD. I'm just saying they don't owe anything to him. And if they decide to make a trade that isn't a destination that he wants to sign a long-term deal for, all right, well, tough shit. It's the Phoenix Suns, and they're trying to get as much back as they can for him. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of the comments here. The days of having 3 or 2 superstars are gone. Corey, thank you for the comment there. I think the game it goes in cycles. It's cyclical. And I think we might be saying that today. And you know what? If tomorrow there's a team that puts together a big 3 and those 3 all complement each other very, very well, then maybe we're not having this conversation. Let me give you guys an example. If Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and instead of that money going to Bradley Beal, it went to just think of a great big man that would be on. I'm just making it up. Anthony Davis was on that team. Okay, let's say it was Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Anthony Davis. So a big 3 still doesn't work. it's not about having a big three. It's about having the right three. And there is, obviously the issue with that is you don't have depth. You don't have enough guys. We're watching in the playoffs right now. Go look how Indiana got to the NBA Finals. Go look at the Oklahoma City Thunder are in the NBA Finals. It's depth. It's not needing one player to take over in every game, even though I know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the MVP, but they got guys. They got depth. They play defense. I think the issue I have when people say, well, big threes are never going to work again, it has to be the right three. It has to be the right three. And clearly Bradley Beal was an awful trade. And I still think you can be successful with a big three, but the three literally have to be perfect. They all got to complement each other. And then you got to obviously there's a lot that has to happen right. You also got to have younger players on smaller contracts. You got to have maybe players that are vets that are chasing a ring that also want to be a part of that team. So I think there's a lot of factors that come into play there. KD, Wemby, and Fox. You're right. Phenomenal three right there. But is KD in that window of San Antonio trying to win right now? I don't know if he is. Can he be in the window for the next couple of years? Okay, maybe they're, making a playoff run, but Wemby, I guess, is just so young, and I just look at that. I don't know what their rush is for the San Antonio Spurs to go grab a 37-year-old. KD is more likely to sprain an ankle in a layup line warming up than winning another championship. KD has never been a Batman on any team. Yeah, listen, I think KD has got a very interesting history. KD was Batman on the Oklahoma City Thunder. He certainly was there. He's got a interesting history in the NBA because he was on a phenomenal team. I loved what the Oklahoma City Thunder were building. And then, they lost to the Golden State Warriors. He picked up his ball and he joined that team. And everybody's like, KD, you sure you don't want to compete against that? The answer was no, he didn't. He wanted to. And for whatever reasons, he wanted to go to Golden State, got to play a different style of basketball. Not everything was on his shoulders. And it goes from there. Phoenix has 3 stars, but none of them are real distributors. Bad roster construction. Awful. It's honestly one of the worst constructed teams you can possibly imagine. Okay, so that's what we got going on. Free agency, rumors, obviously a lot of Laker ties that we put to all of this. And on the KD stuff, like I mentioned, you got a lot of stuff on Kevin Durant. Okay, you know what else is going on tonight? NBA Finals. Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Just real quick, on Friday, Game 4 goes to the Thunder. They go to Indiana. They tie up the series. By the way, there were a lot of times I was like, oh my gosh, Indiana's going to go up 3-1. The Oklahoma City Thunder outscored the Pacers. Pacers just, I don't know what the hell happened to them. They collapsed in the fourth quarter. OKC had great defense, but there was no flow on offense. They got outscored by 14 in the fourth quarter. And it felt like Indiana was going to go up 3-1. But to be honest with you, I think the series should be 2-2 because I don't think Indiana's that much better, and I don't think OKC is that much better, at least through the first 4 games. The fact that this series is tied 2 apiece, if I could be mission accomplished for me, I know the NBA ratings aren't going to do well, but I love basketball and I love the NBA. I had to drive on Saturday. I got a couple-hour drive I was making on Saturday. I'm listening to Sirius XM, the NBA channel. Actually, I'm sorry. This was on Friday night. And so it was not too long after the game. And I'm listening to Sirius XM. And if you listen to these, former coaches in this, everybody's like, oh, my gosh, this is such an amazing series. If you watch the way that Rick Carlisle is adjusting and the Thunder are making the adjustments, and every single game is a game of chess. Maybe not everybody likes it. That's fine. That's okay. I have found these NBA Finals incredibly, incredibly interesting. And here we are, a Game 5 tonight with the series tied 2 apiece. That's kind of all you can ask for. All you were asking for is don't go 4 or 5 games. At least go 6. If you can go 6, then at least maybe more and more people get attracted to the series. It probably won't happen. But Game 5 tonight, and the Thunder, of course, are going to be the favorites tonight. Like I mentioned, I think I already got what I wanted. 5:30 tip-off tonight. We'll get a chance to see Game 5 with the series tied to a piece. So did the Pacers have a legitimate chance to go up 3-1? They did. They blew it. But you got to also give Oklahoma City credit, too. I think they're learning as they go as well, and we got a dogfight hopefully the rest of the way. I picked Thunder in 6. I still think Thunder in 6, but you know what's not happened this entire round so far for the Thunder? They have never had a lead in this series. They're down 0-1, they tie it. They're down 2-1, they tie it. They've never had control of this series, and this is going to be their opportunity tonight. Let me look at a couple of these comments, and then we'll get into everything else. Scott Foster happened. I saw Rick Carlisle basically taking a bullet for Scott Foster. I don't know what was happening there. OKC choked the first one. You're right. They definitely did. These finals are whack. They're not. They're actually really, really good finals. But you don't like the market size. You don't like the logos that are represented in there. And maybe there isn't a marquee name that you really, really like. But the actual finals are really, really good. So I know it's not for everybody, but I think it's been good. KD is a tough spot in his career right now. A couple of wrong turns, and he's already towards the end of his career. I mean, he'll still be one of, top 15 player of all time. And some will say higher up, maybe top 10. I don't know if I'm putting him top 10, but he's still going to be one of, the greatest to ever play the game. But can he add to his resume? We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's see what we got here. Ref saves the OKC. Don't push Hallie, and there's no call. Yeah, I know that was a big call, which I guess happens, and Pacers had their chances, guys. I don't think that game came down to one game. They had, 8-point-ish lead, something like that, going into the fourth quarter, something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. You got to close it out at home. I don't think that was on the referees. I just think they didn't close it out. All right, let me get another one here. Shohei pitching tonight too soon. Okay. That's coming here in just a second, and we'll talk a little bit about the Padres and the Dodgers and the show. I'll save this story for you guys. Time for AR to pack his bags and his shoes. Okay. All right. If Scott Foster do any more games this series going into Game 7? Okay, we'll see. We will see. Okay, let's get to a couple of the other topics that I want to get into here real quick, and I appreciate everybody hanging out today. I'm going to kind of just tie this into the weekend recap, so we'll kind of do this all at once, and then we'll also talk about the game, obviously, tonight. Probably the biggest news tonight is Shohei pitching, so let's do that right now. By the way, I'll tell you guys a quick story. So I had a chance. There's a partner that working on a partnership, and you guys know that I was down. What was that? Maybe about a month ago or so, down at Harris Resort. And anyways, long story short, I was potentially going to go to a Dodgers Padres game, and I was looking at my schedule, and I'm like, I don't know if I can make it work that week. And I was like, the only day that I could make it work would be Monday, June 16th. I didn't act fast enough, wasn't able to make it happen. I kind of wasn't 100% sure what my schedule was going to be. Who had tickets to Padres and the Dodgers for tonight, and then decided to tell them, guys, I don't think I can make it work. And then yesterday the news comes out that Shohei is pitching in this game. So nice job, Al. Good job there. Okay, so Shohei Ohtani to return pitching Monday night versus the San Diego Padres. Has not pitched in 21 months. And, this is kind of a fascinating story for a number of reasons. What's kind of crazy is he hasn't pitched in so long. Not that you forgot that he pitches, but it's almost been 2 years since he pitched. And he's never pitched in a Dodger uniform. I mean, right now, the only memories you have of Shohei with the Dodgers is obviously it's one of the greatest bats we've ever seen, or maybe stealing bases, or his 50-50, 50 home runs and 50 steals, the 50-50 club. Go down the list of how you think of Shohei as a Dodger. But what we forget is one of the most unbelievable days I've ever seen in my life. He's with the Angels. And Shohei Ohtani in a doubleheader pitched a complete game when he pitched. And then when he had the bat in the next game, he had 2 home runs. If I'm correct, I think that's what happened. And I'm just like, we're never going to see this again. I don't care how many more people they're going to allow to try pitching and hitting and all that other stuff. We're never going to see another athlete like this again. And Shohei Ohtani is going to do something tonight that he has not done in 21 months. It's a Dodgers team that has 14 pitchers on the injured list, 4 starters, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Roki Sasaki, and Tony Gonsolin. So, part of this is like, well, Ohtani's pitching. Hey, it's the first time he's pitched for the Dodgers, this, all that stuff. The other part of it, for the Dodgers is they don't have any healthy pitchers. By the way, what am I missing with the Dodgers? I know a lot of pitchers get injured on other teams as well. But does that not seem like this crazy, wild, I know I'm not the first one to say this just unbelievable trend of that many pitchers getting injured on one team? And it happens. Listen, you guys know I'm a Padre fan. Okay, Joe Musgrove out for the season. Yu Darvish hasn't pitched a game this year. Michael King has been out as well. Those are the 3 best pitchers for the Padres. Put Dylan Cease wherever you want. It's not that it doesn't happen to other teams. It happens, but it feels like with the Dodgers, my God. I mean, if you're a Dodger pitcher, it's like, well, when are you going on the IL? That's what it seems like. So Shohei will make his start tonight, and he'll start the game. How many innings will he go? 1 inning, 2 innings? I'm not sure, but it's going to be pretty cool to see. And listen, the first 3 batters that he's going to face will be Tatis, will be Luis Ariz, will be Manny Machado. If that's, the order that the Padres put out, that's usually their 1, 2, 3. And Shohei will be on the mound, and then he'll take the bat and be the most dangerous bat that's out there, and we'll see how it goes. The one thing that the Dodgers do have, and I think this is, this is why it's so tough to compete with the Dodgers. They can piece anything together because they just have so much talent. The way the Dodgers beat you is they're just going to put together so much talent. And by numbers wise, it's like, well, even if X amount of players are available for us, then we could still go out there and compete with everyone in the NL. And they clearly have done that again this year. But a 4-game set for the Dodgers, you kind of have their storylines. For the Padres, to be honest with you, I think this 4-game set, by the time you're done, either you're still competing for the NL West, and whether you feel like they really are competing for the NL West, or you're just completely focused on a wild card spot. That's what I think these 4 games are. I know that's a little absurd to say because it's only June 16th, but if Dodgers take 3 of 4 and the Padres are 5 games out in the NL West, I just don't think they're making up 5 games in the NL West against that team. And you also got the headache now of the San Francisco Giants, and Arizona still kind of lurking. If you go 2-2 and you split it, then you're still 3 games back, and it's like, all right, you're still technically in the mix. That's what I think the series means for the Padres. Speaking of the NL West, the Giants go out and make a colossal move yesterday. Rafael Devers is now part of the San Francisco Giants, a squad that has stayed in the mix here. I know the Dodgers took 2 or 3 from the Giants over the weekend. But they go out and get a massive bat that they need. And, it kind of, I guess the San Francisco Giants, they're here to stay. So whether you're, whatever fan base you are in the NL West or in SoCal or whatever the case is, Giants ain't going anywhere. So I think they're close to 10 games over 500. They are completely have decided, yeah, this isn't one of those. If you thought, because this is what I believed coming into this year, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, probably Padres, and then the San Francisco Giants. And now flip it. The Giants are the number 2, second best team in the NL West, and we'll see how far it goes. But they go out and commit. They don't have enough bats. They don't score enough runs. They got one of the best bats in baseball, probably the top 10 bat in baseball. So that's a lot of stuff that went on in the NL West in a short amount of time. MLB standings, just to kind of look at this real quick here. MLB standings, here's where we're sitting in the NL West. Dodgers 2-game lead on the Giants, 3-game lead on the Padres. Arizona 6.5 back. So something to keep in mind in regards to that. Okay, that's pretty much all I got for the show. Let me read a few of the comments here. Of course, the weekend recap is presented by the Wallace firm. If you or someone you know is in a serious situation, reach out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm to see how they can help. For more information on how they can help you, go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa or click on the link in my description. So shout out to them and shout out to the partnership here. Okay, let me look at a couple comments here, and then we are going to call it a day. All right, where is it? There we go. Comments here. Let's see what we got here. Through all that, still trade Reaves. I love it. I love it. Trade Reaves. Everybody still trade Reaves. Dodgers have the luxury to be the only team able to over-rest their pitchers since they already know they are guaranteed the postseason. You're right about that. And they're almost guaranteed the division as well, which the Tyler Glasnow front and the Blake Snell part, I mean, honestly, for the Dodgers, does it matter whether those two guys, if they come back August 1st, are the Dodgers like, cool, well, look how many minimal innings they've pitched all season going into the playoffs. So I do think they obviously have a luxury that really no other team has, period. Let's see what we got here. Split finger with poor physical training staff. Let's see what he wanted to see. I do give him a lot of credit, insisting pitching. Dodgers wanted to hold off. He wanted to pitch against the Padres. Yeah, listen, if you're looking for storylines, it's a good storyline. Whether he did it against the Padres or he did it against any other team, he was going to dominate the story of whenever he came back. Obviously, he's doing it against the Pods. Let's see what else we got here. I had a couple other ones. Shohei pitching tonight. Yep. The too soon thing, honestly, if I got to be completely honest with you, I think they're probably so cautious with this guy that I don't know if too soon is the answer. I don't think too soon would have been a question mark. I think they're so cautious with him. I don't know if there was a too soon. Glenn, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. And then last one here, fans hating on AR are misguided. He's not it. All right, a lot of Austin Reaves today. I didn't know I didn't even have Austin Reaves as any of my topics, and everybody just went Austin Reaves. Here's this one: trade Austin Reaves for 3 first-rounders. All right, my people, that was fun today. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. It was great too that we had some really, really good stuff. Some really, really good stuff to kind of talk about today as well from an NBA perspective. So thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I will see you guys all tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody.